In what is a shocking development, I realize, Derek. I'm Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz. It is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named and now charitably award-winning Query and Schultz program here on ISC. I didn't do any homework, and so I'm not even certain.
Wow, that is shocking.
I know. And I'm not even certain what show number this is.
43.
Troy Polamalu.
Ooh, that's a nice poll.
First one that comes to mind. I mean, I know Richard Petty, wasn't he 43?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think of drivers. We've been doing more stick and ball sports, but yeah, that's not a bad one. I'm trying to think of somebody else. Like, there's got to be an NBA, just a random 43 out there, right? See, I did homework on everything else. I did not do homework on the episode number.
Do you want to look up?
To be fair, you were actually working this weekend, which
was.
is rare for you nowadays in your current employment state.
Right. Mid-Ohio. I was at the
taking
IndyCar
up.
race at Mid-Ohio.
Scenic
Congratulations to
Mid-Ohio.
Joseph Newgard.
Yeah, heck of a run for Newgarden. In fact, I think his name might pop up a little bit later on in the features. I don't want to spoil the surprise for everybody, but
Oh, really?
I might have Joseph on there. For
Okay.
me. Yeah.
We have a lot to talk about. Thank you for joining us again. My name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz, and we do this each and every week. Thanks to those of you who tune in or listen or whatever it might be that you are consuming, ingesting that of which we speak. But there's a lot to talk about. No tasting.
Oh, I think, yeah. People have okay, taste sounds weird. People have a hunger for us.
Yeah, okay.
People are hungry for Query and Schultz.
Speaking of hunger, Derek, yesterday I met up with my buddy Jay Ferguson, and there was a picture taken.
Jay's a great dude.
My face is getting fat.
Oh, God. No, we're not going to do this.
It is.
Let's get right into it. NBA Finals, matchup set,
right
Pacers trade rumor
I used
mill.
to have more of a line.
Let's
in
go.
here,
Topics. Show topics.
It's bothering me.
Your fat face is not one of the show topics today.
See, you admit it's fat.
No, that you think it's fat is not a topic on the show today.
Okay.
It is not fat.
It's fat. NBA Finals are set. NHL Stanley Cup Final is extended. It was exciting.
Forgot about that.
To see Game 4 extend into a Game 5, but it seems to be inevitable that Tampa will win and deny Canada again.
And look, if we have hockey
champion.
fans watching, I know that some diehards are hockey fans. We don't pretend to be. Hockey's a really cool sport. I love watching it live. I don't follow it. We don't really talk about it on the show. I don't know anything about it. I can't name 10 NHL players.
Really?
It's not really. It's a very niche thing nationally, but it's especially niche here in Indy.
I thought it was impressive that Montreal was able to hold off 2 power plays from Tampa in the overtime and still,
Look at you.
The speed on the rebound to be able for Montreal to score. The only thing I thought was weird was how the Canadiens fans and the players more so, when they won to stave elimination, and I get that, but they kind of acted like they'd won the cup, and it was like, you guys still have 3 more to win here. It's now 3-1.
What? Are we like talking hockey shop here? You got the shirt on? What is this? What do you want me to say?
Hey there.
Well, yeah, Jake. The abs. They looked sharp last night with the way that they moved the puck, and I don't even know how to talk hockey, so I don't know how you want me to respond to that.
They moved the puck there. I'll tell you.
The Canadians had not been in the finals since I was 10 years old, like
They had
93.
At one point, I think this is still the case, they had more professional sports championships than anybody in the Big Four.
But a lot of that dried up. The Maple Leafs, it especially dried up. Like Maple Leafs haven't been relevant in forever.
Well, that's correct.
But the Canadians, I think, won it all in 93 or 94, somewhere around there. Because I remember them winning when I was a kid, but I don't think they've been to the finals since.
That's
and
right.
I know Calgary and Ottawa, and there are a couple of other Canadian teams that have been since then.
I'm a Flames guy.
Calgary
Calgary
not
Flames.
know that.
Yes.
No.
Calgary Flames, and then I kind of like the Islanders too.
Okay.
I'm just saying. NBA Finals are set. It is Phoenix. It is Milwaukee, not Montreal, but Milwaukee. I find this fascinating, Derek. The narrative of small market teams. What defines small market?
I'd say when you get into like the 20s and 30s, and I guess in some cases the 40s, that would be anything that's outside the top. Really, anything that's outside the top 10, I think most people view as smaller market. So New York, LA, Chicago, Dallas, Boston, DC. Atlanta's huge. Do people view Atlanta as
Atlanta's market 7?
Market? Yeah, it's a top.
So
10
when
market.
it came down to Phoenix was in, and then you knew that it was going to be either Atlanta or Milwaukee. And people are like, see, this is going to be great. It's going to be a small market finals. Now, I know Atlanta was eliminated, but it's market 7.
Yeah.
So
what it is, Jake, is it's an irrelevant finals.
Atlanta is a bigger market than Boston.
But the thing about those teams is that Phoenix is the 5th largest, right?
11.
Okay. Sorry, I thought it was bigger than that. It's still growing.
It is.
Those teams, franchises, the Suns are basically the Pacers of the West. And no offense to the Pacers have zero cachet nationally. Zero. No one cares about the Pacers who's not a Pacers fan. And for the most part, maybe up until this year, no one cares about the Suns who's
That's
not
fair.
a Suns fan. No one cares about the Bucks who's not a Bucks fan. And you're used to in the NBA Finals, if you do have a franchise like that, like San Antonio won 4 titles. They were a dynasty. So they were relevant just with the fact that they were winning championships. That's what made them relevant. But a lot of these other teams, Knicks, Lakers, Celtics, it's flash, right? Those are flashy markets. They're huge markets, and they're huge franchises with a lot of history. And I hate to put the Knicks on a parallel with the Lakers and Celtics. Lakers and Celtics are way up here.
Right.
But I think that's what you have here in the Bucks and Suns is that you have an NBA Finals for the first time that I can remember in a long time. You probably would have to go back to Heat Mavericks in 06, where you have 2 franchises that have never really done anything that are playing each other for a championship.
Well, I think the thing that is really interesting about this, I mean, Milwaukee has kind of knocked on the door here for a year or two because, last year they had the best record in the league, and then COVID happened and you go to the bubble. It remains to be seen Giannis's availability.
Doubtful for tonight.
Right. But, Middleton is still a really good player, but he was not an elite, you're not talking a lottery pick. And they have good complementary players that all kind of feed off of that duo. Phoenix is intriguing because they have not, their rise has been meteoric here, but it has been step by step by step in terms of the way this team has been built. Yes, they have complementary pieces like a Jay Crowder that were brought in, through free agency, but these are guys also they draft, and Chris Paul obviously was a huge transaction, the final piece. But, Ayton, you look at Ayton and you look at Booker. I mean, these were guys that Booker was good right out of the box. Ayton's taken time, and it's taken other pieces around him to kind of lift him up, and now he's a really good player. I mean, he's really good. But, neither team has a blow-you-away superstar. I guess you'd say Giannis is.
Yeah, Giannis is a top 5 superstar and NBA player, I think. But he's playing in Milwaukee.
But you're right. He is not getting – this is not super team, come play with me level free agency thrown together.
No,
stuff.
it's refreshing because, Middleton and Giannis have been together for, 6 years, 7 years? When did Giannis come in? 2015, 2014?
That's probably right.
Middleton was a second-round pick, I think, of the Pistons in, 2012. He's a guy no one knew anything about Chris Middleton.
Right.
And they've kind of stuck it out together and they've grown together.
I always get Middleton
I like that.
Middleton played where collegially?
Oh God. Wasn't it like Texas A&M or Texas Tech? It was one of those schools, I feel like.
I always get him confused with.
I think it was A&M.
Okay, who was the Chris that came out of Providence? Who was the Chris that came out
Chris
of Providence?
Dunn?
Chris Dunn. That's who I always get confused with. Chris
A&M
Dunn.
was Chris Middleton.
Because Chris Dunn was drafted by the Bucks, was he not?
I think he was drafted by Minnesota.
That might be right.
He was in the Levine trade, right? I think so.
I mean, he was thought to be, he was going to be a really good player. And he's not a bad player, but he's just kind of
Middleton, A&M from 09 to 12 was drafted by the Pistons in the second round in 2012.
Okay.
But
what about Chris Dunn?
It's neat to see them kind of grow together. Chris Dunn was drafted in 2016, 5th pick overall by the Timberwolves.
Okay.
And then he was traded to the Bulls in 2017.
Did he never play for the Bucks?
No.
I was thinking he was a Buck, but again, I think if you look, and I'm not saying this because Giannis is out. Even if Giannis was playing, I think Phoenix is a better team. I think Phoenix has fewer areas that you can exploit. I think the Bucks kind of go as that big two goes, okay? And if you can limit, and I know it's not easy to do, but if you can limit Giannis and Middleton, Lopez is capable of giving you some minutes. They've got some other guys that can, but for the most part, you have a pretty good idea where to limit Milwaukee. For Phoenix, if you shut down Paul, you got to worry about Booker. If you shut down Booker, you got to worry about Ayton. If you shut down both of them, you got to worry about the wings. I think Phoenix just has better balance. I'll take Phoenix in 6.
Yeah, I will too, because if Giannis isn't healthy, the Bucks, I can't envision a scenario where the Bucks win this series. One thing that's kind of interesting about the Bucks' run is that they haven't particularly shot the ball well. I think they're shooting like 30% from 3, and yet here they are in the NBA Finals, whereas if you would have told me they'd shoot 30% from 3 in the playoffs, I would have laughed at you if you said that they'd make it all the way here. But what I like about Phoenix is that defensively they can really match up with anybody. Booker has become, at the very least, a decent defender. Ayton has really developed on that end as well. Mikal Bridges, they've got guys that can really defend. And that's where I kind of worry about the Bucks in this series, especially with it may not track to the finals. What you did before doesn't really matter once you got here. I would assume that some of those shots are going to start to fall for them, but they're really going to have shots fall. They're going to have that Middleton score like 35 a game without Giannis to really give themselves an opportunity.
My only complaint with Phoenix, not complaint, point of contention with Phoenix. Can they just pick a jersey and a color scheme and stick with it?
It's a shame because the last time they went to the finals, 93. I was also 10. We keep bringing up 93 because I think the Canadians won it that year too. Those jerseys were great. Their 80s jerseys were great with the very ornate Phoenix in purple and orange and the sun that was on the shorts, remember?
Right.
And then they just got progressively worse ever since then, right? The Phoenix jerseys have gone like this over the years.
Now, how about Milwaukee, though? We see right here, okay, just, Bucks basketball.
I'm fine. I like the state of I miss.
That's kind of cool, the state of Wisconsin down there.
I miss the little buck that had the ball spinning on its hoof.
Yeah,
with a sweater.
You're a big fan of that, right?
That was the best logo, I thought, in the NBA, and they got rid of that. The Ray Allen era Bucks jerseys that really incorporated the purple a lot more. Glenn Robinson.
And silver in there.
Was not a fan of.
Right.
But I like that they've gone back to kind of the clean green. I don't like when they wear the blue.
Yeah.
The green jerseys.
Great Lakes blue.
Well, whatever it is. No one knows what that is. You know what I mean?
Sure they do. If they've been to the Great Lakes, they do. It's the color of the Great Lakes. It's the color of the water. That's why
it's one of those things that's
it's in Milwaukee.
I think it's one of those things that people in Milwaukee know about, but no one else. We have those in Indiana. I mean, no one knows what a sugar cream pie is except for people in Indiana.
Do you know what formed the Great Lakes?
A glacier.
How did you know that?
Took a wild stab at it.
During the Ice Age, Derek, the glaciers moved. They started moving south, right?
Okay.
And they moved. If you look at it, they moved all the way. That's why northern Indiana. Like if you drive to Lafayette from Indianapolis, or you drive to Chicago from Indianapolis, how's the scenery? Flat, right?
We got a lot of windmills.
You do have a lot of windmills. They were not there during the. They were not actually keeping the glaciers cool.
Gotcha.
But the glaciers then got to about a little bit south of Indy, around Greenwood, and they said, you know what, enough. Let's retreat. We're done. So Indiana flat because it flattened. See the ice as it's moving along flattened, and then it got to about Greenwood and things warmed up, and so they melted. And so that's why southern Indiana is still hilly because it didn't get a chance to get that to do its work. And then it melted, and so it retreated. But it had created grooves in certain areas, and the water, as it melted, filled in those grooves, and those are the Great Lakes, and that's why southern Indiana is hilly. And in northern Indiana is not. See,
sorry, I fell asleep. We were talking.
You weren't fascinated by that? There are people, I guarantee you right now, I want one person, just one, to tweet me. At Jake Query, Jakequery, if you found that little tidbit fascinating.
No one's going to tweet you. Crispy will be like, that was great. You're amazing. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You're great at Mid-Ohio.
What else do we have to get to today?
Let's get to the Pacers. Kind of while we're on the NBA topic, let's get to the Pacers and these trade rumors. Because since we had our last episode, there was a report with Philadelphia, which was an actual report. There have been other rumors like, trade proposals and things like that have mostly involved Golden State because Golden State seems to be enamored with Miles Turner. So what the Pacers could get from Golden State. But I kind of want to start with the Ben Simmons thing because I thought the Ben Simmons response was really burning white hot in one direction or the other direction. Like people are really, really for it or really, really against it.
Right.
And that trade rumor was, and this was out of Philly, and the Pacers people, Jay Michael, I know at the Indy Star, kind of shot this down. that the Pacers offered Brogdon and a first rounder.
J. Michael shot down that this was
offered.
Okay.
That the Pacers offered Brogdon and a first rounder for Ben Simmons.
I don't know whether or not the Pacers legitimately offered that. I think there is intrigue about Ben Simmons by the Pacers. I think the Pacers see Ben Simmons as a guy that, and again, you have a new coach now. So maybe this doesn't jive with Carlisle as much. But Simmons, I think, is seen by NBA executives league-wide as a guy that the one thing that he does really well, aside from, he's a good defender, but he and Lonzo Ball I put in the same category. They can play at such a high, frantic pace offensively to set the tempo that is a tempo that because they are running their offense, your team is in control of. But it creates – have you ever gone and played pickup ball, Derek? You're probably this guy, actually. But if you play pickup ball, there's always that one guy that starts checking people like at the three-quarter line before you even start to move down the floor. And everybody's like, look, I'm just out here to get a little bit of exercise. And this guy's just, in your face, and he's guarding, and he's just going.
Yeah, it's called defense.
I understand if you're playing a half-court, legitimate, organized game.
Well, I press full on.
Exactly.
Full game pickup basketball.
Okay.
I press. That's just it's a philosophy that I've always had since I was in second grade. I'm a guard that presses. So I pick it up. I do full court. Okay. When I was smoking cigarettes, it was a little more difficult, but I could probably hang a little bit better now.
Okay, so you when you are playing pickup ball because you're playing full court press all the time, you are interrupting people. That you are throwing off the rhythm of what people want to do.
Defending them.
Okay. So guys are playing pickup ball, and they're like, dude, what is this freak doing? Like, what amphetamines is he on? Okay?
You want people to get mad at you in pickup basketball.
Okay. Ben Simmons does that on an offensive standpoint at the NBA level. He plays at such a frantic pace that everybody else that's not used to it and that are not under that umbrella are like, what is going on? And it throws teams out of rhythm. I think there are executives that see him as that is his benefit. Lonzo Ball's the same way. They can play. If you watch it, they can just play it a very frantic. He also is a very good defender, Ben Simmons. He cannot shoot. But in Indiana, if you have, and I don't know whether or not Doug McDermott, who, by the way, has played well under Carlisle in the past, but let's take McDermott out of it. But T.J. Warren, Jeremy Lamb, Karis LeVert, you have guys that can score from the outside. They can shoot the ball. You don't need Simmons to shoot from the outside if he's with Indiana. I don't know. J. Michael would know better than I in terms of the day-to-day operations of what the Pacers are doing. So maybe they didn't call and make an offer, but I do believe the Pacers would have interest in Ben Simmons.
If you're paying somebody $35 million, they better be able to shoot. They better be able to hit an open shot. That's kind of my response to all of that. The thing that is the big no for me is the contract. Simmons has skills that the Pacers need. I actually think that the far more coveted skill to me, if I'm the Pacers, is Simmons' perimeter defense. Pacers had none of that this year. Zero.
Right.
They have no one on the roster that can do that. They always had, Oladipo, Paul George. They had guys that could really get out and defend.
For that matter, even Solomon Hill was a really good wing defender.
Just somebody. And Simmons is not only is he he's an elite defender.
Yeah.
But the problem is, Jake, is that, if he's going to shoot 2 of 6 in the fourth quarter of an entire series like that can't happen. I can't pay you that amount of money, and you can't at least hit an open shot.
Unless you have shooters spotted up all around him, and he is an excellent facilitator to get it out. Mark Jackson was not a great outside shooter. He was a tremendous point guard for Indiana.
Kind of a different era, though. Like, you need your guards to be able to score, I think, or your perimeter players to be able to score in today's NBA. And he can score a little bit. Like, he can create. He's a good passer. But just the shooting thing gives me a lot of pause. No, I don't think Simmons, for that contract, I don't think Simmons is the right guy.
Is Brogdon I'm not going to say he's I hate using the term team cancer because I get it, but is Brogdon a team interrupter?
No, I don't know if he is or not. I think Brogdon
needs in the wheel.
I think Brogdon needs to get over himself a little bit. the chip on their shoulder thing, second round pick, lightly thought of at UVA and all of that as an NBA player and has become a good NBA player. But he's not to the level where I think he might think he is.
Right.
But I like Malcolm Brogdon's game.
I think Brogdon,
I worry about his availability.
I think the issue with Brogdon has not been Brogdon, but rather resentment from other players about the way Brogdon was treated by Bjorkgren. If you look at Brogdon was so vociferous about Nate McMillan, and then Nate McMillan gets replaced, and Bjorkgren comes in. If you look at Brogdon's comments about Nate Bjorkgren at the beginning of the season last year, it was, man, we got a really good coach. I mean, we just, we're playing well because our coach, we just got a brilliant coach that's doing this. He was so favoring him that you were thinking to yourself, like, man, he is so in his corner here. What's going on? Well, then you find out that there was some resentment from other players that Bjorkgren was not a disciplinarian when it came to Brogdon, apparently, and Sabonis. They were just treated with a little bit lighter gloves. And I don't think that there was necessarily mutiny within the locker room, but there was some resentment there. So I don't think that makes Malcolm Brogdon a guy that the Pacers said, we got to get rid of this guy. But it will be curious to see how he works with Rick Carlisle.
And it's funny that the Pacers and Carlisle are saying, well, we really like this roster. We really like this roster.
It's a good roster.
They're saying that, but Jake, I don't think it's – I haven't necessarily heard this. I'd be really surprised if they're not open to conversations about anybody. LeVert is the only one that would really surprise me. If LeVert is not an Indiana Pacer next year, that's the only thing that would shock me. The rest of the roster, I think, is open for business.
You are always open to anything that will improve your roster. You could say all you want. LeVert is untouchable.
Okay,
sure. But if
let me rephrase. I think it's to the point where the Pacers are actively looking to see if they're not just waiting for the phone to ring. I think the Pacers are actively having conversations about, hey, let's dip our toe in here and what could Miles Turner get? What could Brogdon get? Because I think they know deep down that this roster needs to be improved. It's not good enough. The trade that really intrigues me is with Golden State, because Golden State to me has pieces that are more intriguing to the Pacers.
Okay. Hold on to that, and when we come back, I want you to tell me what those pieces are, right? And we've got features to get to as well, right?
We have features. We're actually going to talk some baseball. The Cubs absolutely stink right now.
Okay.
Just terrible. And we'll talk about that. Nate McMillan got a contract extension. Joey Chestnut continues to be an American hero. Where does he rank? He's now past Bill Russell. Where does he rank among the greatest champions in American sports, really international sports? We'll get into that coming up later on today. So we got a ton to get to.
Okay, lots to get to, including Derek's Golden State pieces that he wants, and probably more Frisbee chat.
Nope, no more Frisbee.
Yep,
or hockey. What the hell was that?
Well, huh?
It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Stick around. What are you doing?
I almost had it there.
You're knocking out the wires.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Shot at the buzzer. Got it! She got it! Oh my goodness, what a shot!
Hello! Did it again. Hello! Made the highlight reel again. That goes to Mentor and all kinds of room to run. Down the middle of the field, and he will not be touched. Jackson, hello! There we go.
Stokes throws it, caught, ball ricochets.
Wow.
A huge hit.
Wow.
This has been an amazing display of goal scoring.
Welcome back to Query and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network. I'm your host, Derek Schultz. Jake Query is here in spirit. He decides to take a bathroom break. You know, this show isn't very long. It's an hour and 15 minutes, and you would think that a grown man would be able to hold his bladder for an hour and 15 minutes, let's say, before we start taping. Hey, guys, I got to take a bathroom break real quick. Jordan, just hold off for a little bit longer. But no, it's always like the first or second commercial break, which are literally like 60 or 90 seconds, where Jake is like, oh my God, I got to go right now. Here he is returning after a 2.5 minute one. We were just talking about how usually grown men are able to.
This is on the air or off the air?
Hold it in. No, we're rolling right now. Okay, this is all. Millions of people are watching.
Derek, I got news for you. Once you hit 45, for me it was 45. For you it'll be 40 probably, because you're not in as good a shape.
You sure about that?
The elasticity of the bladder goes away a little bit.
Not mine. I have an elite level bladder.
Okay.
Really, I'm able to hold it for a ridiculous amount of time.
How old are you? 34?
I'm 38.
Okay, well, just wait. Now, you might have.
That's going to change.
You know what? I will say this. Because it has to do with prostate health, you probably are in better shape because you had a doctor that was checking that annually for like 6 years.
We're not going to get into that.
That is true, is it not? Your doctor was very aggressive.
Just relax, okay? I don't know why you laugh about this. That's not really the appropriate response.
You went to do an annual physical, and your doctor was smoking a cigarette before you even walked in, right?
He had.
You came in one time and he said, "Boy, I had the physical today, and I got the prostate exam." And I said, "Oh yeah." And then I said, "Wait a minute, those typically start when you're 40." And you said,
"I was 31."
And he was preemptive, right?
He had a tweed jacket on, and I thought to myself when he came in the room, I'm not sure about this guy. And you know what? Right then, I should have trusted my instinct and decided on a different PCP. Yeah, right then. Instead, I went back again.
And when you went back, what happened?
He did it again. And I said, we just did this. What do you mean? I thought this was like a one-time thing. Like
most people, it's every 10 years. You, every 10 months.
Oh, my God. Called my wife afterwards, just distraught in the car.
I know.
I said, what is happening to me?
I'll never forget you came into work. I'm like,
it's a great transition.
Hurt your ankle? You're walking funny.
To Bailey and Wood.
Okay.
They are the presenting sponsors of our next segment on the show. We love having Bailey and Wood aboard. This is, I think, month number 3 for them. Bailey and Wood Financial Group, BAWFG.com, 855-350-HOME.
You got it this time.
To contact them, so you get pre-approval if you're in the housing market, which is burning white hot right now, or if you need to refinance. Rates still really low. I mean, they haven't. We thought they were going to spike back up again. They haven't yet. They're starting to rise, though. So if you haven't nipped that in the bud already, do that with our friends at Bailey & Wood Financial Group. BAWFG.com. They've got their golf outing coming up, too, which
FG.
I think I committed you for.
I don't golf. I mean, I'm happy to hang out with Bailey & Wood.
We're just going to hang. Because I told Mike the same thing.
Driving the beer cart?
We can do that if you want to.
What kind of beer would you want to get?
On the golf course, I like really cheap beer.
Okay.
I like Miller Lite cans on the golf course.
If we were going cheap beer on the golf course, what kind are you getting?
I like Miller Lite cans on the golf course. That's what I drink. I golf like twice a year, but that's what I would drink on the golf course.
What about Busch Light?
I don't know if we're going that cheap, but
okay.
Yeah, if I was in a pinch.
Miller High Life?
I've never been a High Life guy.
It's champagne and beers.
I know. Never been a High Life guy.
Genuine Draft?
No, I hate MGD.
Why?
I really like Miller. Miller Lite is my choice of that, like Bud Light, Miller Lite,
Coors Light?
Michelob Light. No, I always thought Coors Light was, those beers are always watery, but Coors Light especially I thought was really watery.
Okay.
Like it has no taste.
They have to bring it in refrigerated trucks, Derek. That's why it took so long to get it here from the Rockies.
That's one of those things. I remember Fat Tire was like that for me when I was in college. Yeah. Like we had friends that went out to spring break in Colorado, and they came back with Fat Tire. I was like, oh my God, Fat Tire. And now it's everywhere. Or Yingling. Wasn't Yingling like that too?
Like that. Yep.
Where it was only in Ohio or something, and you had to go over the border. But yeah, Bailey & Wood Financial Group, thanks to them for joining us.
Okay, so when is the golf outing?
Mid-August. I'll get back with you in a date. I also committed you to the for the Alley Cats.
Well, that's fine.
They
probably because they're impressed with my frisbeeing skills, right?
Well, we'll talk about that.
That's left-handed. That's
when we have
that's weak hand right there. Just
our section on the Alley Cats. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
The rumors with Miles Turner, and I want to be clear, this is not a report or anything like that. But a lot of people have just thrown out, hey, trades that could help the Indiana Pacers that would maybe also help another team.
I'm going to look up Golden State's entire roster.
And they've involved Golden State and Miles Turner.
Okay.
And Golden State also, if I'm not mistaken, has the 10th pick in the draft.
Okay, now that's intriguing.
So one trade rumor, possibility that I saw was a three-way deal between – actually, this is not involving the Warriors. The Pacers, Cavs, and Pelicans, where Miles Turner would go to the Cavs and the Pacers would get back the number 10 pick in Steven Adams. So that's where I've got the number 10 pick from, that trade. There's been talk about the Warriors and some combination of either Wiggins or James Wiseman, who was the number, I think, two pick
correct.
in the draft last year.
He was hurt, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Here's the roster.
The dude's 20 years old, and people want him to be great right away. And I'm like, he's 20.
Right.
You got to be patient a little bit.
Here's the roster. Andrew Wiggins, Kent Bazemore, Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Kevin Looney. Now, we know that, Curry and Draymond Green are not going to be part of this. Wiggins is intriguing, a former number 1 overall pick. I think he's developed into a pretty nice player. Still not consistent. One night he gives you 25, the next night he goes 1 for 8. You know what I mean? But
Golden State has 7 and 14. That's why they're talked about, because they've got the multiple picks.
Damian Lee, Oubre.
Oubre's been talked about too, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, with his contract, it would have to be some sort of a sign and trade.
Jordan Poole, Eric Pascal, James Wiseman.
Or is he a free agent, maybe? Maybe that's why I was thinking.
Gary Payton II, Jordan Bell, Klay Thompson.
I have to look up Oubre's contract situation, but I thought that his name had been thrown out in this as well. But, to me, if it's Wiseman and a pick swap, so 13 for 7, or maybe the Pacers have to pay more. Maybe the Pacers have to give up Turner and the 13 for Wiseman, and then Warriors commit a future pick or something like that. I mean, I would do that in a second. Those are the deals that really intrigue me, Jake, when the Pacers can get somebody who has a lot of room for growth, because that's really, on their roster right now, they don't really have that.
Here's the thing, though, with Wiseman.
Like Sabonis, Turner, all those guys are only going to get so much better.
If Wiseman is entering year 2, how many years are left on that deal?
I think it's a 4-year or 5-year. But then he has RF. You're restricted. Like, you really don't have much freedom of movement until year whatever it is, 7 or 8.
Because you wonder, is Indiana hesitant to get a guy that
not a second-year guy? I don't think. Okay. I think that's the kind of. But
Wiseman's intriguing.
But I don't know. I mean, the Warriors would have to be really hell-bent. Okay, we've got to win right now. Our window's right now. We can't wait on Wiseman. We need Turner here right now, because Turner is a plug-and-play guy.
He is.
You just put him in there, and it's going to work for you. I think that's what's most intriguing to other teams about Turner.
Turner's intriguing, Derek, because he can defend. Obviously, he can rim protect, and he can hit threes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, his skill set is very desirable.
Defensively,
in
he
NBA.
gives you center play. Offensively, he gives you 3.
Mm-hmm. And we all know what Miles Turner's limitations are, but a lot of teams need guys that are high-level defenders, or at least, guys that you have to account for on that end. Because I don't know if Turner is as good as his block numbers indicate, but he is a very good defender.
One of the things, aside from that of which we speak, that Miles Turner does well. You know what I think might be Miles Turner's biggest attribute? I don't know this for a fact, but deep, can you think of a single time he's been a problem?
No, he's always been extremely mature.
Totally.
He was young when he came here. He was 19.
He's been a good guy in the city.
And he was
a
late
good
birthday
guy with the
19.
franchise. He has not complained when he's been kicked down. Just
really
a
smart
solid
dude.
player.
Really intelligent. I think Miles' problem is that he's been a little too
reserved,
reading about what other people are saying and taking it to heart, and he's a little bit too sensitive, I think, when it comes to that stuff.
Good hands, you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Reactionary like this right here.
Okay.
Darn it.
I'm dead serious. If that touches me again,
can you hand me the other one?
We're going to have a big problem. We're going to have a big problem if that touches me again.
What are you doing, Derek? The Alley Cats.
They can see the T-shirt. The other Frisbee's going on the floor. It's not being touched. Keep going. Congratulations, by the way, to Nate McMillan while we're on the NBA topic. A 4-year contract for him. We're going to have big problems. If you want to have big problems, we can. Okay. 4-year contract for Nate McMillan. Okay. Did a tremendous job. Look, I'm not going to pretend like I was a huge fan of his when he was here. I was not. But did a tremendous job in Atlanta.
The opportunity was there for him to get footing back in the NBA, and you know what he did? Just reached out and snagged it, right? Like
They were 14-20 when he took over, finished 27-11 the rest of the way. Got at least one round farther than they probably should or that anybody expected. And they were really competitive despite being – and I know Milwaukee had Giannis, but Trae Young clearly wasn't himself, missed the game, and then was hobbled in Game 6 for them to get as far as they did, I think it's a testament to what he did.
Atlanta, they bought in, right? They
Yeah.
bought into what he was doing, and kudos to him. Nobody has ever disputed that Nate McMillan's not a good guy. He had a roster of guys, Derek, that bought in and that were not looking out the door. I mean, the one thing you can say, Nate McMillan did have Paul George here. Paul George was looking elsewhere. Then he had Oladipo. That worked well for a minute, and then Oladipo's looking elsewhere.
He didn't get dealt the best cards. I'll give Nate a break there. But it's funny, Jake, because you think that the NBA season resumed not even a year ago. It was August 1st, I think they started playing games in the bubble. And then the Pacers played pretty well in the bubble, and then the playoffs were a disaster. I mean, it was embarrassing what the Pacers did. I know Miami was a good team who was on a really good run. The Pacers embarrassed themselves in that series, and it led ultimately to his firing. So for it to come full circle like that in 11 months, it's crazy. It's been a crazy, wild ride for him, for sure.
Speaking of full circles, discs, frisbees, full circle, Derek. There you go. Okay.
Do you have to take another potty break? Because we've got to take another one here.
We do?
Yeah. If your bladder can handle it, we'll
I'm
see if
fine.
you could sit here for another 90
I'm
seconds.
fine. I know you want me in here.
We'll come back and talk about the reeling Cubs, Joey
You want me
Chestnut's
on this wall.
heroism.
You need me on this wall.
And speaking of the Frisbee, I committed you to something.
Okay.
Something else in August with the Indy Alley Cats, so I hope you can do it. But I'm going to put pressure on you and make you say no on the air.
There is one date. I'm going to write it down right now. There's one event that I'm committed to in the month of August.
Well, it better not be on
One
this
thing.
date because this is also a very special date in show history. So we'll come back with that next. It's Corey and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network. Stick around.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
McCulling in time. Oh, no! It's good.
This one is gone.
There you
oh,
go.
Wow, Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, 3, bury it for Leland Walker.
Tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play.
Oh, my
goodness.
I feel a little momentum starting to fall Lynn's way.
That in the air. Wrestler! Wrestler! Whoa!
Welcome back to Query and Schultz. And we'd like to thank, as always, WGU, that's Western Governors University. WGU, Indiana. Look at this graphic. Fabulous. Sage the owl swooping in. You see the talons there? Do the owls have large talons? WGU, Indiana. You're asking yourself, why the owl? I'll tell you why. Because owls, of course, very wise. Like, we know that. But owls also nocturnal, head constantly looking around at everything around them. And that's exactly what WGU can be for you. If you are somebody who is nocturnal, maybe it's late in the evening and you want to then, once things settle down, the kids have gone to bed, and you think, I've got those goals of finishing my degree. WGU Indiana is exactly there for that. Indiana's largest online accredited university, whether you are deciding for the first time to go out and get a degree or maybe completing a degree that you've put on the shelf for a long time. Ambition never rests with WGU Indiana, Indiana's largest online accredited university. What are you doing, Derek?
Like, it's coming right at me.
That's the whole
Like,
point.
do you guys
And that is fabulous, though. Look how beautiful that is.
do you guys want to create a
what an
hostile
incredible
work
specimen.
environment for me? Is that what you want?
Yes. Yeah, that actually is exactly what we
Like,
want.
I think that sometimes, no, not even sometimes. I think you intentionally do stuff like this.
Like what?
to like get me off track or bother
Derek,
me on the show.
do you
Like, this
understand
is-
the beauty of Sage the Owl and
That's
the
not even
majestic
sage.
nature of this?
That's just a random barn owl that is swooping down on its prey, and its talons are coming right at me.
It's
of course.
swooping in and completing itself.
Like I
a
know it's a
degree
monitor, but it
at
makes
an-
me extremely uncomfortable.
Okay, well,
Like I have a fear of birds. Like it's a real thing. It's
You know,
not
they're-
like
you
it's
know-
not like a haha funny thing.
you know,
It's
birds,
legitimate.
not sage and not owls, but you know, birds. They got the coronavirus or something, and they're now socially distancing them. People are being asked to remove their bird feeders and bird houses to get birds distance out a little
saw.
bit because there's the songbirds. That's a great song by Oasis, Songbird.
I'm not going to comment on that publicly with my personal feelings about birds.
What are you, the Harvey Updike of birds? Did you put Spike DL80 in bird feeders?
I think the word is amphiphobia. That is the fear of birds. That I am amphiphobic. I'm amphiphobic.
Okay.
It's a legitimate diagnosed thing.
What about a parrot? If we got a parrot,
It's a type of bird. Yes.
Parrots are
Actually,
fun.
parrots, the fact that they can speak has always kind of been a little bit unnerving to me.
Parrots are fun.
No.
Cockatiels.
Nope. Not fun. They're not.
Okay.
They're terrible pets. They're
Okay.
awful. There are no redeeming qualities for birds.
Okay.
None. Zero.
All
I mean,
right.
I guess if you trained a bunch to attack your foes, then maybe that could be a redeeming quality, but that's about it. Not the only thing that's redeeming. So I love WGU Indiana and WGU.edu/Indiana. I'm really happy that they're on board here. But like this, we can switch to the next thing. Like we've got WGU Indiana. We don't need to keep putting like owls and birds and like, the thing that bothers me about this is that I've considered, from working with him the last couple of months, I've considered Jordan a friend, and now he's in on this like you are. Like everybody always gravitates towards whatever Jake's doing, which is just really extremely frustrating to me. Let's get into some of the other topics for today. I know that we generally don't talk a lot of baseball on this show, but we have a lot of, Reds fans, Cardinals fans, Cubs fans. Cubs swept by the Reds over the weekend, which Reds fans gives them a lot of joy. And the Reds actually playing some better baseball here. They've got a long
What are
way
they,
to
5 back?
climb.
No,
I
6.5.
They're
Six
but
and
they're
a half
only
by the Brewers.
4.5 out of the wild card.
Right.
So they're in the mix, and that's where you want to be. You just want to be in the mix in July. Meanwhile, the Cubs are 8 back in the division, 7.5 out of the second wild card, and they're below 500. They've lost 10 straight. They were just totally dominated by the Phillies. They lost by 10 last night to follow up that sweep by the Reds. It just looks like to me, Jake, we've been wondering for a while, okay, how long can they keep this core Rizzo, Bryant, Baez together? And
What is going on
it
there?
feels like it's time.
What's going on?
Offensively, they've just been kind of a disaster the last couple of years. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be as in tune with the inner workings of the Chicago Cubs as I am with the Colts or the Pacers or the teams that, Indiana, Purdue, the teams that we cover on a daily basis. But clearly there's something off with the Cubs, and I think this could actually be a good thing for them because Bryant, Rizzo, and Baez were all impending free agents. You knew that you weren't going to be able to keep all of them because they weren't willing to spend. They gave away Yu Darvish. Ownership seems to be more interested in saving a buck or two or making money than they are about contending again. They got their championship out of the way. That's what it feels like to fans. Whether that perception is true or not, I think the Cubs
ask you
ownership
something.
feels like, hey, we got the championship out of the way, so whatever. We're good. Keep drinking beer in the Wrigley stands, and we'll keep
I
churning
don't
the
know if
money
we can go
out.
back to the previous slide we just had here, which was showing Baez at the plate. This makes me think of this, Derek, okay? In Major League Baseball, if you take the average 45-year-old man or woman, but baseball fan, okay? Which would be, for the average fan, of the following 3 things, which would be the hardest to accomplish? A, to get on a Major League mound and throw 3 consecutive strikes over 80 miles an hour. B, to be the batter and get 10 consecutive pitches from the pitcher and get a base hit among those 10. Or C, to simply put on all of the catcher gear and catch an entire at-bat thrown by a Major League pitcher with a batter in the batter's box and not have a pass ball.
the answer and all of those things are extremely difficult to do. The answer to me is clearly, like an average Joe, is clearly B. Like major league hitters have a lot of trouble
That's
hitting
fair.
major league pitchers.
But the reason I ask it, and I know that this is just one of my random brain like redirects, in looking at this photo, if you have ever, and very few people have done this, which is why one time for a story that I was doing in St. Louis, it was a pitcher who had been drafted by the Mets that was from St. Louis, and so I put on all the catcher gear to catch while he threw, and there was no batter in the batter's box. Do you not? It was so hard. Have you ever? Let me ask you.
No, never tried to catch before.
Your instinct,
not even in Little League.
Your instinct when the ball comes in, your instinct is to close your eyes. That thing is coming in so fast.
Oh.
You don't realize these guys make it look so instinctively easy. It is so difficult to do.
Well, in the precision, like the catcher has some idea, unless there's a mistake, of the vicinity of where the pitch is going to be.
Assuming
So
there's right.
At the very least. And major league pitchers are good enough to get it in the vicinity of where it is supposed to be 90% of the time. But still,
But there is so much
hard
that
to
the
do.
catcher's got to be paying attention to and watching what's going on.
No,
I mean, it's crazy.
for sure. But I just kind of wonder, Jake, if we've finally, and lasted 5 years. I mean, it's 2021. They won the title.
Have we seen the end of the
Yeah,
Cubs?
it's over. And I think that they're going to start. They've got a lot of attractive pieces. I mean, Craig Kimbrell's another one who other teams would want. And I think they're going to end up being sellers at the deadline. And I think they should. I think the Yankees should sell. And that's another team that's been kind of a raging trash fire over the last
Major League Baseball this
5-6
year.
weeks.
Major League Baseball this year is intriguing because a few of the teams that were thought to be, wow, this is a huge step for them, are just kind of hanging around and have yet to really get a move going. San Diego comes to mind.
Yeah.
The Padres have mega talent and are kind of the sexy young. The Padres really kind of feel like that Cubs group when they first were coming up, right? With Rizzo and Bryant and Baez, where everybody was all in on them. And obviously it paid off for them in a World Series. But the Padres can't seem to get a real inertia going here, and they're right there also in the fact that they're not even leading in their division. Milwaukee is starting to run away with the Central, but yet nobody talks about Milwaukee. Can you name 4 Brewers?
Yeah, no, there's not a lot there, it feels like, right?
Boston is Boston, right?
Yeah, but you know what? Boston was picked to finish 3rd or 4th in the AL East, and so they're 20 games over. Boston's been a real surprise, too, because you look at their pitching staff, and it's kind of a collection of whatever. And they've really made it work.
Derek, the franchise that I'm happy for, and I've mentioned this before, but the Cubs are the team that, everybody knows Cubs fans, and Cubs fans, credited for being so loyal because, whatever. I get it. My parents, diehards Cubs fans. I give credit to the fan base. You know who I think might have the best fan base in Major League Baseball? Because the people that I know that are fans of this franchise.
Oh, White Sox. I think
are
you've mentioned
diehard
this
fans.
before. Yeah.
Chris Whitlock.
Yeah. Sam Rumsa. Tony Donahue loves the White Sox.
Loves the White Sox. Yeah. Guys that like the White Sox.
Matt Regatius.
They're not obnoxious about it, but they will tell you that that's their team, and they follow them, and they know who's up, who's coming up from the minors and everything else. And I'm happy for those guys that they're able to really enjoy a good year here for the White Sox.
Yeah, they've had a nice season too. Yeah. It's been the problem for baseball, Jake, is that we so rarely are able to hear positive things about baseball because it's always negative. Steroids, sticky substances, replay, CBA, and it's just it's always just bad. And there's a lot of good stuff with baseball, too. I think baseball has major issues that they need to clean up. I think the gap between hitters and pitchers has gotten too wide.
I think the biggest issue in baseball, Derek, is the fact that you have really good young players in baseball right now, and you never hear about them.
Well, they do a really poor job marketing their stars.
Think about this. You have a pitcher, right? A pitcher who's hitting home runs all over the place.
Yeah. Ohtani and what he's done.
This
and
should
Mike
be
Trout before him.
This should be Fernando Mania times 3.
Why is he not a superstar?
Right.
And some of that is
beautiful swing,
self-imposed too.
Beautiful swing.
Yeah. But it's There are problems, but I like sometimes singing the praises of baseball too, because to me, I grew up a big baseball fan, and as I've gotten older, I've just kind of it's eroded away from me.
I think part of it is because we are not a major league city.
Yeah. See, my friends, we were all Sox, Mets, Yankees, and we talked about it all the time at the
Red
lunch
Sox.
table. Yeah, and it was a big deal because we were right smack dab in the middle of
Did
three
you have friends
really
that
big
were
fan
Mets
bases.
fans?
Oh yeah, yeah. Jay and Pete were big. Poor Pete. Pete was poor Jay. Jay was a Mets and Jets fan, which has got to be just the worst existence on earth.
Right.
Because anything with Ets sucks. That's kind of how I came up. Even though the Nets have gotten pretty good.
Right.
But yeah, we had Mets and Jets, and we talked about this I think on the show. All the New York.
We still need to get to what you committed me to.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And also, I have a fabulous trivia question that I was going to throw out, and then I'm going to let you stew on it, and at the end of the show, I'll give you the answer.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll do it right now. You ready?
Okay.
I'm going to do it in a story.
Just give me the question. You know, we've got a kind of a limited amount of time here. We've got features.
You might know it because I've
I'm
mentioned
kind
it
of
to you
hungry.
before.
It's lunchtime, so let's go.
You may know this because I think I've given it to you before. Okay. There is a coach among major American sports that has had a Hall of Fame coaching career. This coach in high school had a classmate. This coach, after high school, left the classmate and went to college. In college, had a college teammate because this coach was playing the sport that led to his coaching career. I just said the gender. That became a Hall of Fame coaching career. The college teammate that this coach met in college went on to become a successful business person and bought a professional sports franchise and then hired the coach. The coach won a championship for the franchise that was owned by the college teammate. Had the coach decided to call the high school classmate to celebrate about this, the high school classmate would not have been able to take the call because by the time the coach was having success, the high school classmate was deceased. But the high school classmate also is in the Hall of Fame for music. These three people all have the same initials.
Okay.
What three people am I talking about? So there is a Hall of Fame coach that can say,
okay, yeah.
I went to high school with a Hall of Fame musician. I went to college with a professional sports owner who hired me and I won a championship with. All three have the exact same initials.
It's a good thing. Sorry for our
Who are
viewers
they?
on ISC, but it's a good thing that our podcast on iTunes has a skip button, so you can kind of skip ahead. And
People are going to want to know the answer to that, and they're going to be
Get
sitting there
farther
racking their
through
brain, and they got like 20 minutes to figure
probably
it out.
have to hit that skip button about 10 times.
You're going to love that.
skip over.
You're
all
thinking
of
about
this.
it, aren't you?
All right. Since they're skipping to me,
You are
I'll
thinking.
I'll wait. And we'll come back with more next. Here on Query and
What was
Schultz,
that for?
ISC Sports.
Are you going
Network.
to edit something out? Is that editing? Is that what you're doing? Seems unfair.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Welcome back to Query and Schultz, where we will give the answer to the trivia question coming up in a little bit. We also need to get to the answer of, Derek, what it was that you committed me for, as you said, in the middle of the month, right?
Yep. August 15th, which is the final home game of the year for the Alley Cats.
Is it the final home game of the year?
Yes.
Grand Park, right?
Actually, they'll have to move to Westfield High School by then because the Colts will have their
That's
training
right,
camp
training
in
camp.
session. But they do have a home match this Saturday at Grand Park against, let me see who they're playing, Minnesota, the Wind Chill.
Oh, yeah.
Boo, wind chill.
Don't like the wind chill.
MyAlleyCats.com for tickets and more info there. We are going to throw out.
MyAlleyCats.com.
Yes. We're going to throw out the first frisbee. The first throw is what they call it. Kind of
That's
like
cool.
the first pitch at the Alley Cats game on August
Here,
15th.
me
Also
a
against
sample.
the Minnesota
Give me
wind
a
chill.
sample.
Oh, I'm not going to show it off. I'm actually a really, really excellent frisbee. I almost pursued disc golf, frolf, as a career path before I got into broadcasting. And basically, ultimate disc is a little bit different because it's a little bit more, accurate. I mean, the accuracy, I guess, is the same. The distance can be the same, but I was an excellent frolfer.
How's your reaction time on catching?
My reaction time is really
sure?
anything athletically. I'm very, very good at usually. Okay,
You're
I didn't
afraid
even
of
flinch.
You're afraid of the disc.
Did not even flinch.
Can't even see
August 15th is also the 10-year anniversary of Query and Schultz. That was our first radio show.
Was it really?
Yeah, so that's why I thought, hey, why don't we do the first throw for that? But Derek, their owner, is a great guy, and I know a viewer of this show. So we're really happy to have the Alley Cats back aboard with us.
Great thing about the Alley Cats, not only family, affordable, but family friendly. I mean, it's great. Kids love it to go out and watch it. Good environment up in Westfield, Grand Park, and then ultimately Westfield High School. So win-win all the way around for the Indy Alley Cats.
MyAlleyCats.com
All right.
for the latest there.
Look at that.
Joey Chestnut, a new standard for him. We've also got our winner of the week to get to coming
Okay.
up here in a little bit. But
Joey Chestnut, speaking of Westfield, Derek.
yeah, resides there now full time.
That's right.
Now a 14-time mustard belt champion, down to new record 76 HDBs in his easy victory. The closest competitor 850.
HDBs?
Yeah, hot dogs and buns. That's the abbreviation for that. I think most people know that now that they've gotten into competitive eating. Chestnut said that he was pushed by the fans cheering him on, something he didn't have in 2020. It was
That's right.
basically a virtual event last year, which he also won. But we've been lucky enough to meet him several
He's a nice
times
guy.
and sit down and have both formal and informal conversations. And he's just a dude that likes to eat. And what I love about Joey Chestnut is that he gets it. He knows the character that he has to play. And the Major League Eating folks just do an amazing job of WWFing the whole thing up, where it's completely and totally over the top. But it really is. I mean, it's become an amazing sport. For me, I would put it slightly in front of tennis as
tell me who that
the
is
sports I
right
enjoy the
there?
most. Is that Taj Boyd?
No,
I don't know.
that's Amari Rogers.
You could just tell even without a helmet?
Well, he's number 3 for Clemson.
Oh, I thought that for some reason I thought that was a 3 in 20. Oh, okay. Now I see the 2019.
Yeah.
I thought that was a 3 in 2013,
Yeah,
which Taj Boyd would have been there in 2013,
Yeah, you're right.
right?
Yeah.
No, good for Joey Chestnut. Of course, it's a Clemson photo. Everything's catered towards Jake on this show. But I think now the conversation actually comes from, is Joey Chestnut the greatest of his era? Like, we're past that. Clearly, he's the greatest athlete living right now. But is he the greatest of all athletes?
You mean greatest competitive eater?
The greatest athlete in sports that is living right now. So LeBron, Serena, Tiger, like Joey has crossed that no-brainer threshold.
I
But
like
now
the guy,
is he above
and I'm glad he lives in Westfield. But let's
Wilt
not get ahead of
Chamberlain,
ourselves.
who's no longer with us. Babe Ruth. Is he above that level? Dale Earnhardt of athlete.
Wasn't he upset a few years ago?
He was. He had an engagement that was broken off. He had some trials and tribulations in his personal life. That was 2015 that he went through, and that was the only interruption of his mustard belt reign. But he came back the next year and continued to dunk
When do
on
you
the
think he
competition.
retires?
Ooh.
Because he's got the sauces. They're excellent.
Yeah, really
And
good.
they're made here locally. That's why he moved to Westfield.
Yeah, because
But
he's
they're
gotten
really good.
he's gotten in with our friends and Bryn and Hughes Culinary and everybody else that are involved over there have kind of helped him establish his brand. But I mean, he told us he's got to get beat first, and then he'll think about it. And not only is he not getting beaten, he's not getting touched. Like it's these aren't even close.
That
He was a
Kobayashi
3,000-1 favorite.
Remember
Yeah.
he wasn't there, right?
No.
And then there's a bigger fella that's done it, and he's middle pack guy.
Crazy Legs Conti.
What's that?
I think Crazy Legs was there. Is that who you're talking about?
I don't know.
Yeah.
A Ruben Studdard looking fella.
No, Ruben Studdard you're thinking of is American Idol.
I know, but this guy looks like that. Similar build, looked like him.
Whatever happened to Ruben Studdard, I wonder.
I don't know. He was the grand marshal of the IndyCar race in Alabama like 5 years ago.
Yeah, because you had Jeffrey Esper, I think, was second to Joey Chestnut. And then Matt Stoney was the one who beat him back in 2015.
I remember him.
Who's been a really good eater. You know, Matt Stoney was the 2011 Mavericks
was
of
Matt
competitive
Stoney
eating.
the Floyd Landis of competitive
No,
eating?
I think that's probably going a little bit too far because that insinuates cheating because Floyd Landis doped and he was proven to do all of that. Matt just kind of
Floyd Landis was just a dope in general.
Matt caught lightning in a bottle, and Joey mentally, I don't think, was prepared to compete. And that happens, you know. I mean, Jordan and Isaiah's Pistons, like, you know, you have, it's how you respond to it. You have adversity as a world-class athlete. Joey had that, and then he responded to it. You know, Tom Brady threw an interception against the Titans last year in the playoffs, and we thought, oh my God, that might be the last throw. He comes back and wins the Super Bowl. Like, that's Joey Chestnut, except times 5, because clearly Chestnut's above Brady, Jordan, LeBron, like all those other people that we talk about.
Do you think these are full-size hot dogs?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're just Nathan's Franks. Have you had a Nathan's Frank before? Yeah. It's good.
Apparently he
I prefer Hebrew National, but
somebody
Nathan's
said
are
that
fine.
they saw Joey Chestnut running in Central Park the next day. And they're like, that's amazing that he was running. And I'm like, he's probably trying to get
He
things
told
moving.
us, we've asked him about this before, and he told us the next day is a
Rough.
big-time struggle.
Yeah.
But his body's now trained to the point where he can bounce back pretty quickly. But I'd be surprised if next day he was out there running a mini marathon.
I'm going to look up the calories that he ingested and the fat content. And then we'll give the
It's 21,000 calories.
– you looked this up
Yeah,
already?
76. Well, I'm just kind of doing it off the top of my head because a regular HDB – Just doing the math. Yeah, it's about, I think it's 21,700 for 76 hot dogs.
I'm going to look it up.
Okay.
Also, we have features to get to round us out, right?
Yeah, actually, let's go ahead and do our winner of the week while we're on the topic of another winner in Joey Chestnut. This guy had just recently retired. In fact, he called his last game. It was Game 6 of the Bucks and Hawks series. Marv Albert is all done broadcasting at the age of 80, and I think the great thing about Marv Albert, and we talk about this sometimes with, you know, it's harder because athletes have a much smaller window than broadcasters, but depending on how old you are, you remember Marv Albert for different things. Like if you're my dad's age, you probably remember Marv as the radio voice of the Knicks. Then as you kind of move forward into my age, into the 80s with WNBC and him being the anchor of NBC4, and then into the Knicks on MSG with the late, great John Andres, and then into NBA on NBC. So all the NBA finals in all those years, you know, some of it was Costas, but a lot of it was Marv Albert too. He is, to me, Jake, the greatest. I think clearly there's nobody that tops him decorated-wise, the greatest basketball announcer to ever live.
Basketball, I would agree.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Now,
argue
he's done other sports. He's called Super Bowls on the radio for Westwood One and some other places. But to me, when you think of Marv Albert, you think about basketball. And he lost his fastball. Like, clearly his voice doesn't have the same oomph that it once did. I mean, the guy's 80 years old. And look, I know about the scandal that happened in the 90s, and I don't want to gloss over that. That's something that happened, and I'm not going to excuse that or anything like that, but he was a guy as a kid that I idolized and was part of the reason that I wanted to be a broadcaster in the first place, so I'll miss hearing Marv Albert's voice.
I never liked him.
Is it the Knicks-Pacers thing?
Probably.
See, I always felt like, and Mark Boyle has talked about this, I always felt like he was right down the middle. Even though he was the Knicks guy, I never felt like he was biased towards
Yeah, I mean,
the
that's
Knicks.
probably... For me, I just thought I just don't like his delivery. Yes, I don't know. I just his accent. I don't know what it was. I didn't grow up with him. I respect his ability.
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
all know Jake is much more of a Bob Lamey guy, so that's school of broadcasting that he enjoys.
Trying to think. You know, I think Nance is really good doing basketball.
Yeah, I don't mind Nance. I like Nance more with golf. I think that's my
really good at
favorite
golf.
thing that he does, honestly.
Do you remember the time that we interviewed Jim Nance for the show, and he left his phone on?
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah.
And I said, well, we got to hang up the call because he doesn't know that it's still going. And Jake's like, what? leave it on.
Yeah.
And I was like,
He
this
arrived
is
at
an
somebody's
invasion
house
of
and was like,
privacy.
"Hey, how are you?" And
It was nothing. Yeah, it was nothing big. They were just like exchanging pleasantries, and he was carrying something in, like back here in the fridge, like he was going to a cookout or
that's
something.
exactly right.
I think it
That's
was
exactly right.
I don't know. It was the summer months.
Here we go.
He
by
was
the way,
always
Derek.
super nice to us, Jim Nance.
Here are the totals for Joey Chestnut. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
12,920 calories. It's actually fewer than I would have guessed.
I think that's off, based on my calculator.
How many hot dogs was it?
76.
Yeah.
No, I think that's off.
2,660 milligrams of sodium.
All good? Good nutrients?
1,140 grams of fat. So you would gain, based on that, probably 3 to 4 pounds. What are you looking up?
Your math's off.
It's not off.
Yeah, it's not. It's significantly more than 12,000 calories.
Are you sure?
Yeah. It's in the 20,000 range.
No, it's not.
Yes.
I'm
And
looking
all
right-
beef Nathan's hot dog is 280 calories.
I'm looking here, 170.
No, that's not right. Not for an all beef Nathan's hot dog. It's 280
Nathan's
calories.
famous hot dog. There are
I'm telling
170
you.
calories
No.
in a Nathan's famous hot dog.
18 grams of fat, 280 calories, 780 milligrams of sodium.
Okay.
I'm right here on the official Major League Eating website. It's verified.
The official Major League Eating website?
MLE is like the Elias Sports Bureau. They don't mess stuff like that up
Okay.
like that.
All right.
So it's in the 20s. 21.7 is a good number. I think it's right around there.
Love that play and Biter Bull Schultz next. Sound good?
And fireworks steaks.
Okay.
Because Jake's upset about fireworks.
I'm not upset about fireworks, but I'm going to upset some people.
Hates America.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what it is. It's Corey and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
The calling in time. Oh, no! It's good.
This one is caught.
There you
oh,
go.
Wow, Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, 3, bury it for Leland Walker.
Tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play.
Oh, my goodness.
I feel a little momentum starting to fall Ellen's way.
Wrestler!
Whoa!
Welcome back to Query and Schultz. Just a reminder, by the way, I really do like this trivia question. Derek's been thinking about it. Hall of Fame coach had a high school classmate that is a Hall of Fame musician, had a college teammate that became a sports owner, and the Hall of Fame coach won a championship while coaching for that owner's team. All three individuals in this equation have the same initials. Who are they? Derek's been thinking about it, has not yet come up
No
with
idea. Larry Brown.
Then who's the musician?
Leaf
Leaf Barrett?
Bonsley.
No. And who's the owner?
Lenny Bruce.
That's
have-
not bad. Lenny
I have
Bruce
no
would have
idea.
been not the musician, but the comedian. Anyway,
You tell me.
I'll give you the answer. End of the show.
Oh, come on, man.
Give you the answer.
God, you draw this stuff out.
Just
no wonder
saying.
you were a radio host for so long.
The art of the tease, Derek.
This portion of the program
Hit
brought to you
records.
by our friends at Chateau Kitchens. I have people asking me nonstop about Chateau Kitchens ever since they started on this show.
Understandable.
Hey, how do I get a hold of them? Hey, Did they do great work for you? Hey,
They did do great
send me
work for you.
some pictures, all of that of the kitchen. They do great work, and I'd be happy to send anyone the pictures of the kitchen. Derek at QuarionSchultz.com if you want those. ChateauKitchens.com is how you get a hold of them. Up in Carmel, they were part of Carmel Fest Parade, 4th of July, whatever dealio over the weekend.
By the way, why is it called Carmel Fest?
I
Are
have
they
no idea.
celebrating Carmel or America?
I don't know. Well, we had Trumbull Day, which was a celebration of both Trumbull and America.
Okay.
And we did fireworks and all of that. At Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and at Chateau Kitchens on Facebook if you want to see some of the – yeah, Chateau Kitchens.
You're saying
before and after.
Chateau.
I'm not saying Chateau. I'm saying Chateau
No, I think
Kitchens.
you said Chateau.
I'm saying
It's
Chateau Kitchens. I'm saying it
Chateau
absolutely
Kitchens
perfectly.
and Home Remodeling.
I know how to talk. I've been a professional broadcaster for 16 years this August. Relax.
Okay.
Saying it right. Chateau Kitchens. ChateauKitchens.com. Cabinetry as well is their big deal. They can do anything interior remodeling as long as it's inside the house, but kitchen cabinets are just beautiful. With what we have craft made in our house, and they're absolutely gorgeous. So talk to Steven and his crew over at Chateau Kitchens, and they will build you the kitchen or, I don't know, bedroom,
How do people get a hold of them?
bathroom, whatever else of your dreams. ChateauKitchens.com.
ChateauKitchens.com.
You're still trying to like trip me up on that.
No,
I'm saying it the wrong way. I'm saying it absolutely the right way.
Chateau Kitchens.
You're just starting like with the frisbee and like with this, like you're starting to annoy me. Okay, like I know that it's kind of like haha, like part of the show, like Quarian Schultz. Like I'm just letting you know that it's starting to cross over into
Is everything going
me
okay at home? You seem
becoming
edgy. Is
annoyed.
everything going okay?
Everything's absolutely fine.
You sure?
Yeah.
Are you getting enough sleep?
Be careful how deep you dig here, because if you dig any deeper, you might break a surface that you can't come up from.
In terms of what?
just telling you.
Is there,
telling you.
there is an underlying issue there? Have we
Love
gotten to
that play.
Do we know that?
Brought to you
Have
by
we
our
confirmed
friends
that?
at Love
Everything's
Heating and
going
Cooling,
okay?
353-2141. I actually saw a Love truck on the way up here on Meridian.
Really?
Up in Midtown, yeah.
Love Heating and Air Conditioning, by the way, folks. Love has been around, love-hvac.com. Family-owned business for over 100 years now. What was that?
I had an itch on my beard. Sorry, I usually wait for commercial breaks or until I'm off camera, but it bothered me.
Okay. Well, if your furnace or your air conditioning is bothering you, no issue. First off, it's not going to bother you if you're with Love Heating, but they do have 24-hour on-call maintenance at 317-353-2141. How do you get to last for 100 years, 4 generations in family business? Very simple. Great product, knowledge of the product, and, of course, commitment to customer service. That's what you get with Love Heating and Air Conditioning. I've known them my entire life. They will not steer you wrong. Love-HVAC.com. Derek, your nominee for Love That Play?
I just thought this was a great story. Joseph Newgarden apparently, during Saturday's final practice session, felt like something was off in the car. Like, not obviously off, but something was just not quite right. So he talks to his team, and they ultimately decide, I think, to swap out the engine, right, for the car, which is kind of a big deal instead of just leaving it as is, because he ran just fine on Saturday. Then he goes out and wins the race at Mid-Ohio, and now he's thrust himself back into the points championship contention. I think he's up to number 4 as far as that's concerned. But it's fascinating to me, Jake, because it's very old school to me for the drivers to kind of get that hands-on.
Feel the car, right.
Yeah, and no one has ever questioned Joseph's talent when it comes to driving a car. But to even have the wherewithal to have that ability to feel, hey, you know what, something's not quite right here, speaks even further to the type of elite driver that he is. So, and good for Newgarden. I mean, it was a great weekend for him and his team.
Newgarden has been dominant at every level in which he's raced. I mean, coming up through, I've never, in Indy Lights, and I remember hearing about him when he was like a teenager. And
He's one of those guys you knew was going to be an elite guy.
Unbelievable.
Destined to be a
how
star.
dominant he's been. Kyle Kirkwood is the next on the horizon that I see in that regard, who's leading Indy Lights right now. But back to Newgarden, it is weird to think that this was his first win of the season, but it was, because he was leading in Detroit with 2 laps to go. He was leading, Road America with like 3 laps to go. I mean, or maybe I got those inversed, but he's knocked on the door all year. This is his first win of the year. But it comes on the weekend that is the 50th anniversary of Mark Donohue's win at Pocono, which was the first win ever for Roger Penske as an owner.
Wow.
So for that,
50 years.
I know. To be able to do
Incredible.
that, very impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive. And Newgarden, it's exciting now to see, the points championship with Alex Palou and Newgarden is right there now back in the mix, and Renus VK is up there involved. Pata Award, obviously. It's going to be fun to watch. Little time off because of the Olympics and NBC scheduling and no Toronto, but it's going to be a flurry here in August and September.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
You're going to be bored.
It gives me time to go throw out the first frisbee.
You got nothing
for
to
the
do.
Alleycats. MyAlleycats.com.
You going to go travel?
Sorry. What would...
There are other people around, and you're very lucky that we're taping right now, or else
what?
it was going to get physical.
It's going to get physical. You have no reach. I'm just saying. It's reality. It's okay.
You have to let it pass.
Okay.
Take a deep breath.
Can you hand me that other frisbee?
My kid watches Daniel Tiger, and they have a song. Take a deep breath and let it go, and that's what I'm going to choose to do with this.
Okay. Can you hand me that other frisbee?
No, I'm not handing you anything. I am not going to grant any requests that you have for me. We have about 10 minutes to go, and that is the amount of time that I'm allotting to you for the rest of the week after what's happened today on the show.
So you're not calling me this week?
Bite or bull bleep when we come back. This will actually be good. Another commercial break.
Finally worked.
Take a breather.
It's okay.
Everything's fine. It's Corey and Schultz. We're going to continue to have a show, and it's going to wrap up when we return.
Okay. Can you hand me that?
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Derek, I have extremely good news for you.
I need some good news, so fire away.
During the last break, I did not retreat to the restroom. But you might have noticed when you looked up that I was not sitting here any longer.
Yeah, I did notice that.
Okay. I went and got my frisbee.
Okay.
Okay.
Anytime you have that smirk, I know that it's not going to be good news for me. Anytime you start a sentence with, Derek, you're really going to love this, or this is going to be really good, it's almost always not going to be good news. It's going to be really bad. You know what's not going to be really bad is Bite or Bull Bleep. It's brought to you by our friends at the Shop Indy. 2 brick-and-mortar locations, Clay Terrace. Also, their new digs right next door to where they used to be on the Strip in Broad Ripple.
Next to Union Jack in Broad Ripple.
TheShopIndy.com, at the Shop Indy on Twitter, also on Instagram, where Jordan, I know, does a great job with their social media, but all kinds of really cool T-shirts. Concert season picking back up again. The fall's going to be here before you know it. They've got their core T-shirts that, you know, the Deer Creek shirt, the 31, the stuff like that you can always buy. But I love that Alex and Brian are always kind of thinking outside of the box of, hey, what can we do next? And they've always got something new and fresh that is coming. And you can check all of that out online or in person, in store. And we really appreciate the shop teaming up with us for this show.
It is. This one's fabulous.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Turner Cup champions, 1990, Indianapolis Ice.
You ready to go?
Yep.
Statement 1. I give a statement, Jake and I go back and forth with Spider Bull, but you guys watch the show, you know what the deal is. Nate McMillan will have more success in Atlanta than Rick Carlisle will have in Indiana. Bite or Bull Bleep?
I will say I'm going to buy that. Only because he's already done. I mean, if I say Bull Schultz, that means that Rick Carlisle has to go to at least game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Let me rephrase. From here on out, because now Nate McMillan is the full-time coach.
Okay.
Rick Carlisle is the full-time coach. So let's approach this as Nate McMillan is entering year 1 because he was the interim coach. That's kind of how I was going, because you're right. Rick Carlisle would have to at least reach the conference finals, right? And we don't know how that's going to go.
Boy, that's a really tough one. I think Carlisle might have the more balanced roster, but McMillan has the bigger.
He has an established star.
I'm going to say Bull Schultz. I think Atlanta is a transient market and franchise. I think Indiana has some players stabilized, And I do think, even though he has not won a playoff series in many, many years, I think Carlisle is a good coach that is going to kind of change direction for the franchise. I will say Carlisle has more success.
I'm going to buy it because
And I like Nate McMillan a great deal.
Yeah, Atlanta is not a great roster. They really overachieved this year, but gun to my head, if I had to choose a roster right now, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm easily taking Atlanta's roster over Indiana's, and it's not just because of Trae Young. I like their complementary pieces.
They
to
do
me
have,
are better
they've
too.
got decent pieces.
As much as we talk about McConnell and McDermott, it feels like Atlanta's got 8 of those guys.
But a lot of those guys, Derek, I feel like are either on the backside of their career or could move elsewhere. Hunter or like Gallinari.
Gallinari, I would say that about, but most of those other guys, Herter's still young. Collins is young and ascending still, right? I mean, I'm talking to the core. If you went a little bit deeper onto the bench, then you'd probably find that a little bit more. But, they've got some guys that, Cam Reddish, people like that are still extremely young that have, I think, room to grow. So I think it's Nate because I think that roster is better than where the Pacers are right now. And it's a players' league. At the end of the day, we can sit here and talk all we want about Carlisle and McMillan, who's the better coach. It's a players' league. Statement 2, the IndyCar champion will be a first-time champion. Buy it or bull bleep. You've got an interesting top 6 because you have an even split. You have 3 former champs in Dixon, Newgarden, and Pagano, who are running 3, 4, 6 right now, and then 3 newbies, Pelot, Award, and Erickson. Erickson's had a really nice season.
He has. Erickson's I think Pato Ward's going to win it.
Yeah, you do?
Yep.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's going to be Pelot.
That's possible.
He's just been – and you see this with Dixon. And don't get me wrong. Dixon wins a lot. But the thing about Dixon is that a bad day for Scott Dixon is P7.
Yeah.
And Pelot's just the same thing. Like, we've had a lot of young guns in IndyCar that have been real hit or miss. Like – You've either been on the podium or you've had an engine blow up and finished 22nd.
Right.
And you just don't get that with Pelot. Pelot is always seemingly in that mix this year.
You're right. I like Pelot. I think Pelot could. Pelot's going to be around a while. I wouldn't be surprised if Pelot ends up with Roger Penske, even though he's in a really good car right now.
Yeah.
Maybe VK ends up with Penske.
That's still kind of the bummer of the series that I think somebody at over the weekend in Mid-Ohio snapped a picture of Dale Coyne and said, hey, Dale Coyne brought us, Grosjean and Pelot and all these other guys. And, the thing that sucks about Coyne is that they always end up moving to a bigger team because it's the haves and the have-nots. Right. And you just wish –
not enough of his last name to be able to keep guys.
You just wish Coyne at some point could break – really, it's not about a points championship for him. It's about winning at Indy. It
brought you Ferrucci also.
Be great, yeah. Who's another, 15 years ago, Ferrucci was doing what he's doing right now. He would be considered a phenom, but he gets kind of lost in the shuffle because everybody else is so
talented.
Good. Yeah.
Well, plus he's from Connecticut.
What's that supposed to mean?
They get lost in the shuffle, the Connecticutians.
Okay. Extremely, extremely thin ice. I just want you to know that. And I don't make threats on the show or anything like that unless I'm serious. I don't put my money where my mouth isn't. The backwards hat age cutoff should be 40 years old. Buy it or bull bleep. This is actually good timing, even though you're wearing a forward. I wore a hat on Saturday and I felt like such an idiot. And it's a snapback. And generally you're older, so it doesn't work for you. Generally people my age, dads, wear snapback hats like that. And that's kind of the cool dad look. I look like an idiot with a backwards hat. I just look stupid.
I look like an idiot in hats now in general because my temples and sideburns have gone completely gray.
It does make it, especially a backwards hat with gray sideburns, does look a little like
it's not a good look, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I like that.
Not good.
So would you say 40 is the cutoff, or does it depend on your hair color? Because I know I had a friend that was 32 that was completely gray. It just feels like some people can pull it off and I can't. And there are a lot of things like men's fashion-wise, I feel like I can really – not only can I pull off like I'm elite level.
The thing about backwards hats is, to me, they're more comfortable.
I
don't know why.
I've never been a good hat guy.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so sad that visors fell out of vogue because I looked really, really good in a visor backwards. Backwards and upside down, too, sometimes I wore, but that kind of looks stupid. But a backwards visor.
Did you really wear an upside down backward visor?
Mm-hmm. I did.
And you thought you were cool, didn't you?
I know I was cool. It was factual.
Okay. You said the
I
cutoff.
wore it first night at IU. I wore it.
You said 40 is cutoff?
Yeah.
Can I get away with wearing a hat just straightforward?
I think so. Yeah. You don't want to bend that bill too much because then you start to look very daddish.
But what about but that looks even worse.
I don't think
right?
you want to go all the way flat. I think you want kind of a happy medium. So you want like not all the way bent. No, not like, flounder in Animal House. Like, do it mostly flat but a little bit tilted.
I've got a cousin who is in his early to mid 50s, and all he ever wears is basketball shorts with knee-high socks and flip-flops.
Ugh. Socks and sandals, any kind of
That's
sandals
kind of a
to me is
no-go,
big
right?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have Puma slides, which I'll like when I go out to
Slides.
get not flip-flops, but like sandals. But they're called slides.
Okay. Because you slide into them.
I don't know why they're called slides. This is what they're called. And I have those. But, my feet aren't the most attractive. Like, a lot of this is attractive, like my build, upper body, and all of that. I'm still kind of working on my core, arms. My feet aren't an attractive part of me. You've seen my bare foot once or twice in your life, right?
I thought you were wearing those smart wool socks.
Yeah, no. They do keep me warm, which is nice. But I have a inordinate amount of body hair on each of my feet.
Next, please.
It's just a genetic defect that I have. I don't know. I don't know why it's that way. I mean, I've always had a great ability to grow body hair.
Right. Okay.
But just
What's the next
on my
thing
foot
on Biter
specifically.
Bull Schultz? What's next?
Like usually I'll trim it down a little
Okay.
bit. That's it. We're actually done with the show. We're gonna end on my weird feet.
Well, you said something about fireworks.
Oh yeah, didn't you have fireworks complaints? You're always
Not
complaining about
complaints.
something on Twitter.
I have no problem. Look, it's the 4th of July. I love celebrating this country's independence, and as a kid in particular, I loved going to downtown Indianapolis and seeing the fireworks show. I love it. When I'd go to Kings Island, I love the fireworks show. So I'm not anti-fireworks. But I don't understand how it came to be, or just it's not an anti thing. I'm just like, when did it come to be that like everyone did their own independent, like industrial commercialized fireworks show? And I think there are a lot of people that take Independence Day and they take it to an extreme of, like, to me personally, Derek, dressing up like Uncle Sam and blowing up as much stuff as possible, even despite like people saying like, hey, you know what, it's 1:30 in the morning, maybe it's time to slow it down. I'll just have another beer, then you must hate America.
Yep.
America is seen by a lot of other countries as excessive, self-absorbed, and overly opulent. And I think a lot of people buy into those three stereotypes and take it to the extreme, not realizing that actually what they're doing is almost a contradictory patriotism, because they are feeding into, they're making like a mockery of it. Like, no, man, in order, like, I'm doing this because I love America. I guess you hate America. Okay. Again, going out and going to a downtown fireworks show or like a community fireworks show, it's cool. And as a kid, I even liked, sparklers or a couple things at the bottom of the driveway. The full-size mortar aerial bombs, like you're opening up the Indianapolis
It's a
Motor
little
Speedway
much.
at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I mean, Shannon has a neighbor who's a nice guy. I know him. He's a nice guy. He has the full-size window-rattling aerial bombs, and he's doing them every 15 minutes from 9 p.m. to 12:30 for a week straight. It's a little much.
I'll say this about home, and I know you can spend a lot of money, but home fireworks shows always stink. Like,
Right,
compared to like
right.
real legitimate,
I mean,
like
after,
downtown
like,
fireworks
I get it,
shows.
but after like 3 minutes, aren't you kind of like, yeah, okay? I mean,
and that's kind of what's I've always been sort of ambivalent to fireworks.
okay.
They don't bother my dog at all. I think it'd be different if my dog was bothered by it. He could not possibly care less. They don't bother my kid. So if that affected them, then probably
I
it would
get
for
it.
me.
On the 4th of July, I get it. Just use some self-control. I mean,
I heard
somebody-
one last night at 1:30. I'm like, it's a Monday night.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean,
Like,
I heard him.
relax.
I heard him at like 1:45, and I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm up, but most people are not.
Sure.
By the way, Port Arthur, Texas,
Steven Jackson's hometown.
Steven Jackson's hometown, and I believe Steven Jackson's high school. Jimmy Johnson, not the IndyCar driver, the football coach, was high school classmates with Janis Joplin. He then went to the University of Arkansas, where he was teammates with Jerry Jones, and later went on to coach the Cowboys and a Hall of Fame career that Jerry Jones owned. Janis Joplin passed away at the age of 27. She's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Jimmy Johnson in the Football Hall of Fame. All three.
So no Lenny
Nations.
Bruce.
No Lenny Bruce.
Darn.
Sorry to let you.
So close.
I know.
Thanks to all of our great sponsors, the Shop Indy, Chateau Kitchens, WGU Indiana, Love Heating and Cooling.
Bailey and Wood.
Bailey and Wood Financial
Indy
Group.
Alley Cats.
PAWFG.com, by the way, 855-350-HOME. Indy Alley Cats, even though I'm not sure they're getting what they thought with you breaking stuff with our
WGU.
frisbees. I mentioned WGU already. Thanks for the owl gift. Appreciate that.
Oh, look at that save. See the hands, Derek?
Let's go outside. I just want to talk to you in the parking lot.
Hand-eye coordination.
I just want to talk to you. Let's go outside.
Okay.
No, seriously. Like, let's have a conversation. We're going to do that off the air. All right?
We just had
It's Corey
a
and Schultz,
conversation
ISC
for an
Sports
hour and a
Network.
half. I don't need more of it.